and welcome to the Purple Pill. This episode of I forget the episode we're on, the 3 or 4. I think we're going on 3, but don't quote me here. On the genders of the basic genders of policy of relationships and stuff of this nature. I've been meaning to do an episode of this in months. We had some technical problems here at the base here, but we fortunately been able to overcome those technical problems. So fortunately, we're kind of rocking and rolling, thankfully, as we've been down for quite a while here. But I want to start off with talking about the latest on the podcast sphere. I'm going to play a cut, if I can just live on my iPad. And let me see if I had that cut available. And I'm going to find this. The incel, the involuntary celibate, which means that's the textbook definition of people choosing not to have sex for multiple reasons. I don't like to talk about the phrase incel. Because I think there's so much nuance to it. But what really concerns me is how it has been politicized. It's if I can get on I think my Wi-Fi is down. That's part of our problem here. We're gonna try to switch over here and see if that works. All right, well, let's play this cut. This one really made me really uncomfortable, and rarely do you make me get very uncomfortable with this subject matter.
We needn't let self-development for men with the goal of being a better partner and achieving romantic success automatically equate to misogyny, because if you don't have anything to say on that very important thing to young men, Andrew Tate has plenty to say, and they will flock to him, right? So if you have to provide some sort of alternative.
I'll be the first to admit it. I've tended to talk about incels as either being threatening, aggressive, hostile, misogynistic, or as being objects of disdain. And that's quite a callous way, and a really reductive way, to talk about people who are experiencing loneliness and a lack of connection with others. And I do genuinely believe that journalists and human beings more generally should try to be motivated by curiosity and empathy. So, for a while now, I've wanted to do a downstream about the subject of incels with an expert in the field. And at last, that day has arrived. I'm joined by William Costello, PhD student at the University of Texas at Austin, and author of some of the most extensive and serious research on the psychology of incels that there is out there. There are some things that we disagree.
This goes down very quickly.
The resentment comes for incels, because even in recent decades, there used to be more of a clear-cut playbook of how to learn about the dating market. My father always tells me, well, you used to go to a dance and you asked a girl to dance and you asked, would she stay on? And it was very simple. There was a clear-cut rule book. There's no such thing like that anymore. And incels, there's extremely high rates of autism in the community. So you can imagine being a frustrated young man with autism trying to learn about the dating market. You go to pickup artists to learn how it works. You try their crude tactics and it doesn't work.
So you play another cut here from this gentleman where we'll get to this in a moment. We're going to do our word of the day, and this one's going to be really easy because this is going to be ad-libbing at this point. Let's go to 3301.
That there's an extreme atomization of dating culture now. It's very much funneled towards individually you are responsible for your own dating and just do it on the apps, right? And that is problematic for a number of reasons, including that it just prioritizes very static information. So, for example, it doesn't allow for a nice, charming Irish accent to compensate for being short.
You're
right?
like doing like voice notes on the apps, like, please.
Literally, I was so thrilled when that came online in Hinge. I was like, yes, I put that front and center. But it would allow, so take me for an example, I'm about 5'7". There are probably a significant portion of women who are immediately filtering me out, right? And then I've met women in real life who say, you're not 5'7", you're taller than that, because they don't know, but they're filtering me out on the app, which is kind of annoying. So that extreme atomization, and you talked about, in social milieu. So incels lack social milieu more broadly anyway. So you could conceptualize the incel problem as broader disengagement from society, not just the focus on the sex. We tend to fixate on the sex bit because that's what they talk about most. But it is a broader...
Introduce her, I guess we'll really fix this post. Okay, so I'm going to just ad-lib for a bit, because that's our word of the day. What is an app? Well, it's a shorthand for application, in case people who are starting to learn the English language. The word app is not new, actually. It actually dates back to the late 1980s. Now, the word application in the computer science sense goes back a little bit further, with, particularly on the consumer level with the Macintosh, the original Macintosh. But the word app was actually conceived in modern day at Steve Jobs' other company, Next, at Nextstep. And at Nextstep, they introduced this concept of apps, or the idea is as things were going to be connecting more to the internet, which the internet was a thing at the time in the university systems and in some private companies, the way that you design front-facing things, front-facing tools for users wouldn't need to be that much work, because the Macintosh and even Windows for its time, you had to be an extensive coder that had to literally basically write in raw code, where because with everything being data driven, okay, that's kind of what a lot of these apps were micro databases that would query the internet at the time. So you just needed to make a user a friendly facade, even more than, say, the Mac and Windows. And a lot of that technology was carried into Mac OS X, and then sequentially iOS and iPadOS. At the time in the late 1980s, it was very ahead of its time to see this kind of technology, at the time. That it was these it looked like you were in the 2000s, in the early 90s. So apps were really a very revolutionary thing. So that's what the word app originates from, really from Next, from Steve Jobs, not from Apple, but that's where the origination of the word apps from. Now, when we talk about dating apps, okay, there's a complete distinction of the online dating world and dating apps. Now, as Mr. Costello alluded to, people can tick boxes and get their dream. He doesn't say it that way. I used to say it that way. That they can find their dream person by ticking every box and put every data point in the dating sites. Now, back 10 to even maybe 12 years ago, it was not as easy as swiping right and swiping left. In fact, that was the Tinder era, and then everyone copied Tinder. Oh wait, Match owns all those platforms, so yeah, no, it's common intellectual property. Okay, so this idea that you're just judging someone by a picture on the small screen, there isn't a lot of doing the work. Like when you have a computer, particularly in the 2010s, if you still was carrying a computer or a laptop, hopefully, it's like for people that do the work, right? If you're trying to look for a relationship, you're going to do the work, and you're going to use your computer, the big screen, the heavy-duty thing, and then like Convos or whatever you probably would use the app for. You would certainly not want to be dating on, a 5-inch device. And I think there is something to be said about the smaller the device, the more simpler things should be. Okay, so we need to emphasize this, and I also think the dating apps, as these things became no longer websites, which used to be complex design, to now designing like the app, and your facade is in a web browser or a native app. But again, that concept of, the same concept that was developed at Nextstep, kind of applied to the dating world in a way where you're just using this very simple facade to find somebody. Although you can't find anybody, and part of this is they make it, I think the users are complex, and also women are by default very choosy, not for offspring anymore, but just choosy because they want to feel safe. So that's basically what I wanted to say. The other thing, since I wanted to do an episode, basically on since April, and autism awareness has come and gone. There's a lot of sexism related to autism. And again, you just heard that in this clip, and Healthy Gamer GG, I'm going to try to see if I have a quick cut of it, because I've shared it on one of my other YouTubes, so just give me a few seconds. I probably got it in here, and I do, I'm right on YouTube, so I should be able to play this cut. It's very, just very, let's see.
So this is what we are supposed to...
Don't listen to me. Let me find the cut. Let me see here. And I did some of my shorts on this channel here. It's gonna be a year ago because it was last Mental Health May. Punching us here. Right, where am I? Certainly better. Here we go.
And I even think that, so if you look at incels, for example, there's a subset of incels that will really focus on actually body dysmorphia. So they'll focus on jawline or some physical feature, and they'll say, because of this, all of my problems are there. So I wonder actually whether incels are a modern manifestation of body dysmorphia. So we're absolutely seeing core psychological problems manifest in slightly new ways because of the way that technology is intersecting with our mind. Mm-hmm. As an aside, incels are 8 times more likely to be on the autism spectrum than the general population.
Sure.
Yeah, but that was with Destiny, who likes to use the word retarded very liberally. It doesn't look like I'm recording on... Oh, it crashed on me. Alright, good to know. Maybe it stopped on me. But I know we're backing up here on OBS, so that'll be fine. So, that doesn't really help matters. It doesn't make, it's certainly... It's stigmatizing to be an incel, or to be characterized as somebody with incel tendencies, and I think it's really sad to be single, and again, if you're a younger person with ASD, it's certainly not easy, and I think it's very difficult. to be living with it. And again, you have Andrew Tate, you have all these macho men that really have small dick energy, and they don't really they're narcissistic. And this protector and provider, this is one thing I also wanted to bring up too, because back in 2 years ago, we had the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, okay, in a predominantly, I don't think it was a predominantly Caucasian region. And what happened was, there was a mass shooter, and I'm not gonna say that the guy that the shooter was had issues himself, but the problem was, where were the men in that room or in that school? They were nowhere to be seen. They were nowhere to be seen, and I don't know how many minutes until there was a call from the Texas DPS to make the call to go and shoot, but they were just waiting for their leader. If the patriarchy was so great, then why are people dying from it? I don't get it. Because then the man that was running DPS and Department of Public Safety, I think it's what it's called in Texas, he's chewing his gum so bluntly. It was like the visuals was very gross. Okay, he's dealing with all this stress, quote unquote. Being a protector of Texas. And he absolutely did nothing to stop the carnage. Sometimes I wonder if it was political in nature, and again, I don't hear a lot of the macho men, and that's when I started discovering the red pills around that time. And you would logically think, that these men that I'm a provider, protector, blah blah, then where were these men? And there was another shooting, I'm trying to remember, because so many of these, and again, yes, these soy boys that act on their emotions and shoot people, that's not, to me, that's not the point, to be honest. I think it's it's just extremely disgusting how these men have to wait for their leader to obey the orders. I guess I would break rules, shoot first, ask questions later. They're women in my life. I would put my body over and sacrifice my life for them. But certainly these men don't. I think it's very hypocritical. And again, you don't hear Rolo, you don't hear Fresh and Fit, you don't hear any Pearl, because all they worry about is women are sluts and whores, and they're the problem, and they're the issue, and the only way to solve this problem is that women should submit. We'll talk about Pearl. I wanted to wait until the right time to discuss that. I wanted to introduce these characters one by one. And we'll be doing that in future episodes for sure. And yeah, that's yeah, it's pretty sick to see how men are providers and protectors, and they just don't seem to do that. I do have a few cuts I probably can get to, but again, living with autism is it's really stigmatizing, and I think it's worse now than it was. I think it's politicized. I think when we favor ADHD over other types of disabilities, I think when you start to pick and choose who's right and who's not, I think you're just creating more and more of a problem. I don't have any other cuts on here that I have readily available here. Okay, we're going to we're actually going to sign off today. It's a relatively shorter episode, probably to get back into the Cheney, probably Sell the Sunset if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook at the Weekly Zoo. It's been a very hot June to start here in southern New Hampshire, and it's not going away anytime soon. Yeah, it's just not. It's like, can we catch a break from? Can we just spring into summer and spring away from winter and like just hop into summer? No, it doesn't. It's temperature today was like in the 80s, low 80s. Our average is supposed to be in the low 70s. But again, no climate change. Now you gotta be a soy boy to believe in that stuff. Okay, thank you for listening to this episode, and again, you can visit podcasts.me for all the episodes of the Purple Pill, the Weekly Zoo, and all our other features. So, till then, thank you for watching and listening. Till next time, see you in another episode. Bye.